Well, one of my honestly most popular videos with over 6,000 views on my channel is the Yamaha VX500. It's a 1993. Last time I got it running, but it was smoking like crazy. And so somebody posted some comments and stuff like that just to try and help me out. And I'm gonna check them to see what the issue might be. Basically, I'm gonna go through the whole fueling system, so the gas tank and the oiler and the little vacuum pump, and try to get it running properly. That way I can easily turn it over and not have to worry about, you know, what's going on. I did want to start this a little bit sooner in the season, but honestly, we didn't have that much of a heavy winter fall, and I got distracted by other projects. So let's dive in. I'm gonna start tearing it apart and see what we can find. All right, already went and unbolted the seat. There's just 2 bolts up in the front and 2 bolts back here, which are accessible underneath. Just pop that off. I think, maybe. There we go. I'm pretty sure there's a couple of wires. There's one here. I think that's it. And that's it. Man, the piece of wood back here is rotten. It's always good to have, you know, a tarp flapping in the wind bothering you. All right, let's see what we can get with trying to get the gas tank out. Well, as you can clearly see, I popped the gas tank out. Man, this tarp is annoying. There's 2 nuts that you got to pop off here, and they come off of some bolts that are in the frame. You got to pull the vent hose, the fuel gauge, yeah, fuel gauge. I had to double check that because I just wasn't sure. Then the feed line. And then it just pops right out, no problem. The one thing I will say is that when you're just disconnecting the feed line, be careful because sometimes there might be fuel in there and you don't want it splashing in your eyes. Oh, almost forgot. I disconnected this or unscrewed it and then just kind of turned it out of the way to give me access to everything. Got the air box out. It's pretty simple. It's just 2 bolts right there. Disconnect the ignition coil, this guy right here, and then loosen these guys up, and then it pops right out. No stress. Well, trying to make the least amount of a mess, I got the oiler tank out. All you have to do is disconnect this little wire, pull out the vent tube from the location that it's oriented or routed, I should say. And then there's about 3 bolts that you got to undo, and one of them connects to this coolant overflow tank, which I'll try and hook back up in a kind of temporary way, because I'm actually just going to pop this whole thing out. The drain plug was a little bit difficult to undo just because the hoses are a little old and kind of stiff, but I managed to pull it out from underneath here while trying to, you know, position the tank in a way that it would make it easy for me. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove the pump, which is hiding right back here, and see what's left after that. All right, fuel pump is out. It was right here. This is the oil line. That's the vacuum line. And these 2 are the fuel for the carburetor. I'm going to try and get either a T or a Y or something and pop them in there. What I'm going to do is actually just use like a little lawnmower engine type fuel tank, and I'm going to use a premix and then connect it to here and then see if the issue is anywhere before the carburetor, or if it is just the carburetors that are not tuned properly, which is definitely a possibility since I didn't do like a full-blown mega cleaning. The fuel pump is here. These are your inlets here. This is your fuel line and your oiling line. Then you have your vacuum here, and then the 2 for the outlet on the carburetors. All right, since I'm waiting for that little T or that little Y for the fuel line, I did pop the fuel line out because I just actually want to clean it. I think I got a little bit of dirt in when I was pulling it off from there. I also went ahead and regrounded the ignition coil. That way I don't forget it later. Blocked off the vacuum line for the pump, and then loosely fitted the overflow tank for the coolant. And I originally placed it upside down without paying attention and then had to fix it. So far this is pretty much where I'm going to leave it. Like I said, I got to get that part, and then I'll come back, and what I'll do is get that little small gas tank and do a test fire and see what happens. Well, it's been a few days, and yep, it snowed. Anyway, let's move on. So I got a little lawnmower engine tank, and I got that filled up with 2-stroke oil. It's a 40-to-1 mix. Just got it running from there all the way down to a T right here. I also have a little shutoff valve just in case something happens, but it has a T in there. and then runs up to the carbs right around here. It's a little hard to see, but it is right there. I did spend about like 15 minutes trying to get these all connected because for some reason most of my lines are a little bit stiff and hard, and I got the vacuum plugged up right there. I'm going to go ahead and just start it up and see what happens. So I just made sure that everything was kind of out of the way of anything getting hot or moving or spinning or whatever. I'm going to pop the key in. Got that good. Get this into the start position or whatever it's supposed to be. I don't really know. Let's see what happens. Oh, this is why I like electric start stuff. Takes the wind right out of you. I'm trying to start this without using starting fluid. I'm not sure if this little sensor actually does affect anything, but I guess it might. So I'm just going to plug it back in. I'm not sure if that's what the issue is. I did just a quick little check before just to see if there was any spark, and I didn't see anything. All right, let's try that again. Well, I realized I can't keep the tank in a level position, so I'm just jumpering these two, wondering if that's actually like kind of a form of a kill switch if there's no oil, which makes sense. Anyway, I jumpered them together, see what happens. Another thing to try. Well, that's not doing anything. Well, I just realized I had the cutoff for kill switch in the off position, so that doesn't help either. Great, try this again. Well, I may have just flooded it. I'm not really sure why it's not starting, but you can definitely tell the spark plugs are pretty wet. I'm just going to cycle it and get some air in there, get it to dry up, see what happens. Well, I don't know if I did anything, but, you know, let's try it again. Well, I didn't want to have to do this, but I'm going to use the starting fluid. At this point, I have no idea what's going on. Not much left in here. So starting fluid worked. So there's definitely something up with the carb. So maybe I'll just take a look at that again. This is annoying. Okay, so by the looks of it, I'm getting spark. I just saw in that footage there, no problem. Both are sparking. I'm not sure if I got this little oil sensor incorrect, but I did disconnect it and tried to get the spark and it seemed to work. I'm not sure if that's the issue or what. The other thing is I didn't do a full-blown like cleaning on this. I just shot some carb cleaner in some of the little holes and stuff like that that I could see. That seemed to be okay. I drained it. I refilled it. I know the float's working because it's not flowing here and it's not coming out anywhere in the vent tubes and whatever. So technically should be okay. But this thing's been a headache. All right, let's try that again. All right, let's try some starting fluid again. I don't know at this point. Let's see if that does anything at all. Well, I wasn't joking when I said it's giving me a headache. Jeez, works a second, doesn't work another. Okay, so after I don't know how much time, maybe an hour, I don't know, I went through the whole carb all over again, except this time I really blew it up. I took everything apart and just double checked everything. I put it all back together. The only thing I didn't do is I didn't connect these like vent hoses or these overflow hoses. The idle button, there's a little button or electrical switch under there, seemed kind of loose. Like I fixed that. I don't know if that was maybe an issue. And the other thing too is And I believe that's a pilot screw or a mixed screw. I'm not 100% sure, but that was another thing that I did. I kind of just put it at 1.5 turns. I cleaned all that in there too. I cleaned the chokes. I don't know if one of them had a little bit of a blockage, and maybe that could have been an issue, but either way, everything's cleaned out. I am running low on carb cleaner again, so if I need to do something more, I don't think I'll be able to at this point. I would love to have one of those like sonic bath things or whatever you call them, just to throw this stuff in there and clean them up, but maybe later. Anyway, let's try and get this started again. Well, as always, I forget to hit record. Basically, I pulled the cord maybe 3-4 times, and on the 4th time, it literally just took off and started running. I was like pretty surprised, maybe a bit in shock at the same time, but it was running. So clearly there was still a little bit of junk in the carb. I'm not sure if that was from the last time or if it's new or whatever. At this point, it doesn't matter. I'm just happy that it started without using any starting fluid. I'm going to start it again, and hopefully it starts without too much of an issue. Well, I'm pretty happy it's running. A little bit in shock, I guess, because of all the issues that I had to begin with. I figured it would just, kick off from where I last left it, but I guess not. I guess I didn't do a lot of the things that I needed to do, but either way, it's running now. I do want to check out the fuel pump and make sure everything's clean in there. So at some point, I'm going to have to go through that. It still smokes a bit, but not I don't believe it's smoking like it was before. So, maybe I fixed that problem. The 40-to-1 mix seems to be doing okay. It is, like I said, it's smoky, but nothing like before. So I'm going to clean up the fuel pump and see what happens with that, and then just try to reconnect the gas tank and the oiler tank and see if it makes any difference. So this is the fuel pump as I showed previously. I did open it up, but I didn't find anything kind of crazy inside of it. I did find a tiny bit of debris, but really just a little bit of carb cleaner and it popped out. It's just a multi-layer thing, just some gaskets. None of them seem torn or kind of overstretched or anything like that. So literally less than a 5-minute process. I just put it back together, didn't film anything. What I'm going to do now is I'm actually just going to pop everything back in and see what we get. Well, that was just as much of a pain in the butt to install as it was to remove. That radiator hose causes a big problem with these stiff hoses. They just don't want to go back. Luckily, I don't care, so I'm just going to leave it like that for now. I'm trying to get the gas tank connected, clean that out too at the same time, and then go from there. Okay, well, I don't think I'm going to clean the inside of the tank. First off, it's all black, so I can't really see anything at the bottom. This is the fuel gauge level, and that seems to be working okay. There wasn't anything like crusty or nasty on there. And this is where it actually pulls the fuel from, and that's the fuel filter. And honestly, it looks really clean. So I'm not overly stressed about that. I'm just going to put this back together and then put it back in its original spot and make the necessary connections. Golly, I feel like everything's fighting me on this thing. This thing wants to be rebuilt or something. I don't know, or thrown in the trash. I have no idea. Anyway, the gas tank is in. It's connected to the fuel pump. I've been cycling it over a little bit just to see if it'll pull some fuel, but honestly, the hoses are so aged and dark and like you can't see anything. So I'm not even sure if there's anything flowing, but I'm going to connect the oil tank and go from there. Yep, this thing is fighting me for sure. Anyway, it's a bit of a chore to get that in. It's not even bolted down, but at least all the oil is flowing to the outlet. I connected that to the tank with just a zip tie just to hold it up straight, so that way it was okay. And somehow I managed to lose the lid on that. I have no idea where it's gone. Super annoying. I've been cycling it just to try and get some fuel and stuff down here. It looks like it might be leaking a little bit, but I'm going to double check that just to make sure. I'm going to get the key and see if we can start this. Okay. Everything seems to be connected. Gonna make sure that I got the carb choke on. Key is on. Everything seems to be good. Oh, let's make sure the kill switch is not in the off position or the on position. I don't know how you want to look at it. Let's see. If my carb cleaning was good and there's fuel flowing, it should start shortly. Ugh. Wow, okay, a little shocked. Try that again. Well, it's definitely smoking more than before. Kind of clearing up now, but like it's definitely smoking more than before. So clearly there's an issue with the way it mixes the oil and the gas. Unless it's supposed to be like that and I'm just clueless, which is entirely possible. Although maybe a little bit hard to see, but that right there is the cable that is connected to this oiler. From what I understand is that when you do kind of a wide open throttle, it dumps more oil. I'm going to look into adjusting that, see if maybe it's just that screw. I don't know. I don't know exactly how this thing works, but I'm going to just take a quick look into it and see if I can lower it a little bit. Anything just to make a difference. Anyway, let me see. Well, honestly, I don't know. I can't find anything concerning that little oiler. It's also in such a tight spot that I'm not even sure I want to even get into it. I still don't know what that screw does, and to be honest with you, judging by the fact that it's so far in, I'm even wondering what it actually does. Either way, I think for now I'm going to leave it there. It does run, but unfortunately because of the oiling situation, it doesn't idle very well. I do want to move this unit, so I want to see if this thing actually can move. I checked the skis, I checked the track in the back, and it doesn't seem to be frozen. For a while there, these skis were rock solid. They were frozen in the ground and I couldn't move it. So let me see what I can do and see if I can get it out of this hole. Holy shit. That thing is crazy. At first I thought it wasn't even working or something else was wrong, but man, I just had to hold on to that throttle, and once it got unstuck, woo, it just took off. Let me show you its tracks. So this is where it sat for, God, I don't even know how long, a year, 2 years maybe. And then finally when it took off, boom, see the skis, and then the dirt that it kicked up over here, then in the mud, all the way up to where I ended up deciding to stop, because wow, this thing wants to go. Well, actually, I may move it up just a little tiny bit more, just to get it out of the way, and then I'll put a proper tarp on it. So let me get to that, but wow, crazy. Well, that worked. I actually really wasn't sure that I was going to be able to move, so that was pretty impressive. So what did we figure out in this video? Honestly, the oiler just isn't working quite right. I'm not in a position to be able to get into it and to clean it or to readjust it. I don't know how. I can't find anything online. And because everything is such a tight spot, I really just don't want to go in there. Also figured out that the carb wasn't as clean as I thought it was coming from the first video that I had done. It was enough to get it working, but just not 100%. And I think now we're at the place where the carb is good. The main issue, like I said, is the oiler. I do have a few other little things that I want to take a look at. I'm wondering if I can get a battery in here, because it does look like it has the space for a charging system. There's definitely brackets that go in there to hold the battery in. And I know that this has a starter that can be installed. It's like a kit you can buy. So here's a question to you Yamaha guys, or the guys who've owned something like this. I've looked everywhere on this thing, and I don't really see a good spot where the starter would go. Now, admittedly, I don't really know much about this engine. This is the first time I'm working on something like this, so I really don't have a clue. I'm assuming it would be on the pull cord side, but I don't see anything there. Now, either it just might not be drilled out and the location there, or something else. So if you could let me know where the starter goes, and if I need anything special or extra to be able to get that installed and done, let me know. It would be a great help, and I would seriously enjoy that. Now, for the most part, I'm going to leave it like this. If I can't get that oiler working, I will use just a premix of 40-1, unless you have something else to suggest. I'm fully open to it. Again, don't know anything about snowmobiles or skidoos. I definitely think this is a bit of a rowdy engine, and from what I read online, these are pretty stout engines, so I'm glad to hear that. I think I mentioned it in the last video. I do want to use this in a cross cart. I have a plan for it. So eventually this engine is going to be pulled out of here. This snowmobile is gone. I don't have any intentions on rebuilding it or putting it back on the track, so to speak. But there's a lot of good parts on here that I can use and set it up to create the cross cart that I want. If you watch my KVF videos, some of that stuff that's on there too is going to be installed on that cross cart. I still need a tubing bender. That's the only thing. I can get the steel, no problem. I just need a tubing bender. They're very expensive, and with all the projects that I have going on right now, I don't know when I'll get one. I have a little bit of tinkering that I want to do just to check out maybe that little battery situation, see if one can be installed. So I'm going to leave it here for now. I just want to say thanks for watching, and take it easy.